Hey everybody, welcome back to another one of our essential jazz standards. Today we're going to look at the amazing Tad Dameron standard that everybody should know, Ladybird. So as always, we'll go through, we'll analyze the chord changes, and then I'm going to present you with an etude to hopefully get you started with this tune and make it something that you can have in your repertoire. This is one that gets called at jam sessions and gigs that I play at least all the time, and knowing this tune has been extremely useful to me, and I hope it can be that way for you too. The other cool thing about this tune is that it's not super long. It's only 16 bars, so it's not that hard to learn. So without any further ado, let's dive into the analysis of the chord progression. All right, so first things first, we are in the key of concert C major. Again, we have 16 bars, and we guess we could split this up into like A and B, but I don't even think it's necessary. As we go through this, you're going to realize that it's a short form, first of all, and second of all, it's straightforward enough that we don't really need to worry about labeling the sections A, B, C, D. It's just kind of what it is. All right, so let's kick things off right from the top. So we have 2 bars of a 1 chord. And then we see something interesting happen basically right away. We have F minor 7 to B flat 7, but then we go back to C. So I think we can probably agree that that's what we call a deceptive cadence. Where should this go, or where would it very typically go? Well, it would go to E flat major, wouldn't it? But instead, we go back to C. So it's some kind of a deceptive cadence. It is what we call a backdoor 2-5. Now, we've experienced this in some of the other standards that we've done, but maybe now is the time to actually talk about the theory behind this. So it's really interesting, right? Because we have a dominant chord, B flat 7, that then goes up a step to C major. So where does like sort of the theory of that come from? Well, let's talk about that for a second. So what is the parallel minor of C major? Well, that would be C minor, wouldn't it? Now, we have a whole bunch of forms of the minor that we can consider. We have 3, actually. We have natural minor. We have melodic minor. And we have harmonic minor. So if we think about a B flat 7 chord, and we think about it how it's related to the key of C minor, we understand that by definition, we would have to use natural minor. And that gives us all the notes in a B flat 7 chord. Okay, so that's where we're getting the chord from. And in fact, that's where we're getting the F minor 7 from too. Because all of those notes are in a C natural minor key center as well. Okay, so we're borrowing the F minor 7 chord and the B flat 7 chord from C minor, okay? But now let's look at what's interesting about this, what sort of makes this work. So let's pretend that we were using G7, okay? So we have these notes, if we're using G7. And then let's look at the difference, any similarities or differences between that and B flat 7. So in order to turn this into B flat 7, we need to do this. And then we get our B flat 7 shape. That's 1, 3, 5, and 7 of B flat 7. So there's some method to this madness. We're not just like borrowing this chord because somebody had that thought. It actually harmonically makes a lot of sense. Did you notice that I moved a half step in either direction? So now let's think about how a G7 resolves to C major 7. It goes like this. But now let's think about how that B flat 7 shape would resolve to C major. It's a little bit different, isn't it? Here's G7. So in effect with G7, we're getting two voices moving and two voices staying the same. But then with B flat 7 to C major, all four voices move. But do you notice how the voice leading is still excellent? That's why people really like the sound of a backdoor progression. And that's actually how it works theoretically, both theoretically and why it sounds so beautiful is because of that voice leading. I think you would agree that's really, really a nice sound. All right, so let's hear that in context now. So that's what we have there in the first four bars. Okay, so now we land back on our C major 7 chord, and now we're actually going to modulate. So now we're going to modulate to the key of A flat very, very briefly. So we have a simple 2-5 to get there. All right. Okay, now here's another really, really super common device that we see in tons of jazz standards, and it's really important to understand what this is. So we have this A minor 7 to D7. Now remember, we're in the key of C, right? And then all of a sudden that moves to a pure 2-5. So we could call this, 6 to 5 of 5. But really what we're doing is we're just playing the sound of 5 to 5, but extrapolating it out to a full cadence, which a really common cadence in jazz is 2-5. So instead of just playing 5 of 5 here and then going to 5, what we're doing is we're playing 2-5 of 5, right? Because isn't this a 2-5 of G? But then instead of going right to that G chord, we're playing a full cadence to get us home. And this happens in so many different tunes. I mean, I could sit here and list them off, but one that comes to mind is It Could Happen to You. That has this 2-5 of 5 to 2-5. And there's tons of other tunes. So it sounds like this. Okay, so that's all that is. And learning to recognize that and catch on to when that's happening in a tune will be really useful because then you'll just have a quick label to put on it when you're trying to memorize something or frankly play over it if you're studying vocabulary over this, whatever. And then one of the distinguishing characteristics of this tune, and what I think is the coolest part of the tune, is this pattern at the end here. So we've got this kind of cool progression of all major 7th chords, which has a really, really striking sort of parallel sound to it because the chord quality stays the same. I've seen these written as dominant chords, but I learned to play this with all major chords, and frankly, I just love the way it sounds with all these major 7th chords. So this is generally how I play it, and most of the people that I know play it. But, there could be a difference in the way that the people you play it with or whatever, the way that you were taught it. So we start on 1. Then we go to a flat 3 major 7 chord. Then we go to a flat 6 major 7 chord. And then a flat 2 major 7th chord. And then we drop back in to our 1 chord at the top. What a sound. So there is some method behind this too. I'm pretty sure that Tad Dameron wanted that parallel sound because it's so striking. And then, this move from the 1 to the flat 3 is obviously the interval of a minor 3rd. But then look what happens when we get there. We start following the circle of 4ths. And then we do this nice half-step resolution back into 1. All right, well, let's hear what the whole progression sounds like. Such a beautiful tune. And a lot of like really cool stuff to work on in there. Working on these last 2 bars is something that is both very, very, very fun and really beneficial. There's like a lot of really interesting stuff that is happening in there, and a lot of really interesting relationships that are happening in there. All right, let's check out the etude. All right, hope you enjoyed that one. Hopefully this gives you something to start with this amazing jazz standard. Check out all of Tad Dameron's other music. We'll probably do a couple of other Tad Dameron tunes in this series, but this is a great gateway to his music. And this is a very often recorded jazz standard. I also believe that Miles Davis's tune Half Nelson is written over these changes. So that could be another melody you could check out. And then you have melodic options on top of this melody. But as always, learn the melody from a recording. I think that's the best way to do it, especially with a melody like this. It's very simple. It shouldn't take you very long. And then get to work learning how to improvise over this tune. So there will be a way to like get the etude and all the materials from this, and I'll list that in the description below. So if you want to get your hands on the etude in the correct key for your instrument and have access to these analysis sheets, there'll be some information on how to do that below this video. Hope you're doing well. We'll talk to you soon, everybody. Bye.